Merkel Media.
He put it in park, threw open the driver's door, ran out the side of the car, across the front of it, and jumped right off the side of the bridge in front of me.
The only people that really pulled over were truckers.
He said, "We're going to Hodge," and he didn't slow down. He went across the median onto the oncoming traffic, but where they could see him coming, they just got out of the way.
I noticed this plane was really low. It went right in front of us, hit the fence, and it spun around. 30 seconds more, he could have hit us.
And I went around that truck, and a guy stepped out from behind the truck and threw a piece of wood, and it shot through my window just like a spear and stuck in the back of the cab of my truck.
That's probably one of the stranger things I've seen.
Welcome to Hammer Lane Legends. I am Brian Merkel.
I'm Brian Shipper.
Thank you for joining us today. If you have a crazy and wild story you would like to share with us from the road, if you would like to have a conversation with us about your experiences on the road, if you have things to do with the trucking industry, go ahead and contact us at hllpodcast@protonmail.com. That's hllpodcast@protonmail.com. Or go to the hammerlanelegends.com webpage, get a hold of us that way. Either way works for us. Just get a hold of us. Shipper, voicemail line.
The voicemail line is a short story, 5-10 minutes of anything crazy, wacky, intriguing that you might have seen on the road, participated in, or caused yourself. Leave a voicemail. Follow the prompts. 515-585-6375. Yeah, 515-585-MERK.
There you
Really
go.
easy. Follow the prompts.
It is. It is.
It's a lot easier than
it's
it
easier
sounds.
to do than it. Yes, exactly. It's easier to do than it is to say it. So, what about buy me a coffee there, Ship?
Buy us a coffee, keep us fueled. It's what keeps us caffeinated. Buy me a coffee / I can't read. Buymeacoffee.com/hammerlane. Follow the prompt if you're interested. Contribute. Thanks for contributing. If not, thanks for looking. What? Oh, you want to slide that up?
Yep.
All right. Thanks.
Today we're talking to somebody that works at the same place we do. John, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. Okay, glad to finally put the voice with the face there, Brian Merkel. Okay, and I appreciate you guys inviting me. And I talk to Brian Shipper often, so this is just a continuation of our friendship and relationship. So gonna enjoy this conversation here today.
See that? Somebody talked to me and actually returned a phone call.
Every now
that doesn't happen, I guess, too often, Brian.
No.
Seems to be that way. I know he does not listen very well all the time, but that's okay. He does a good job. He's a fantastic co-host and a fun guy at work, So, John, tell us a little bit about yourself and what do you do at Pitt and kind of like walk us into that. Walk us into your own little story there.
Yeah, I mean, just to start with, okay, I listen to your podcasts, on a regular basis, and you guys happen to, you're welcome. And you guys happen to interview a couple of different people that I know, and some friends. And as you guys were interviewing somebody, Jeff Hamill, what happened is Brian Shipper mentioned my name and he happened to say that John is doing some of this logistics stuff. And I just kind of thought that here it is. I know Brian basically, 20 years. Okay. We're both busy guys. So we don't talk every day, but we talk often enough. But really, you guys didn't have a good, or at least Brian didn't have a good understanding, what the supply chain division is doing at Pitt, Ohio, which is, a different division. So really that was like the genesis of, several conversations that Brian and I had, to try to explain what we do from a supply chain side and what's involved. Okay. What it incorporates. So, one thing led to another, and Brian asked me to, come on the show and maybe, explain this to, our Pitt, Ohio family out there. The drivers are such an important part of our organization, right? You guys keep us safe. I admire, all the work you guys did, especially during, COVID, being the frontline guys going out there, right? The city drivers going out there, the ambassadors to our, our organization. So I kind of thought like, what? it probably is important that, I explain what the supply chain division does, right? Compared to, the regular LTL. And again, the drivers are in front of customers every single day. So I kind of thought, maybe the drivers could even, send this message out to some of the customers, some of the new services that we're providing and creating value for our organization and our customers.
Right.
So,
yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So really what my role is at Pitt, Ohio supply chain division. Okay. And listen, it's all the same, organization, right? But my role is the vice president of operations for our supply chain role. Okay. And what our supply chain does is basically we act as a third party, okay, for our customers. We do manage some of the dedicated division, but basically, to try to explain that, similar to what maybe a C.H. Robinson does, or a Global Trans, Echo Global Logistics. Okay, so that is the part of Pitt, Ohio that I manage on the operations side. Okay. We handle freight that's not conducive to Pitt, Ohio, as an example, right? Okay. Freight that might not, be a fit. It might be, loose freight or freight, long freight. It could be, freight that's not in our region, as an example, that Pitt, Ohio drivers would not pick up and deliver. We manage the truckload side as well. Now, I've been fortunate enough to, have a great team around me. Okay. That's what I'll say. Okay. So we have our supply chain division broken up in, a couple of different segments. Okay. But before I even go there, do you guys have any questions around, what I just, mentioned?
No, I don't think so. I mean, other than, I guess, and we'll get into that stuff a little bit later on. I was going to get into a little bit of the personal stuff for yourself, how you got into that line, but let's continue where we're at here and keep going forward. Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, sure. So, like I mentioned, from our side, we have a great team. So some people I inherited, some people, we promoted on the domestic side, which kind of manages all our truckload business. As you know, we sold ECM, back in 2021, right? I came into, and I could back up a little bit if you like, Brian. Okay. So I started at Pitt, Ohio. It was actually just my 11th year anniversary, April 17th. Okay. At Pitt, Ohio. I started as a sales rep, a local sales rep. I started doing some national accounts after that, and then moved into, a sales director role for a couple of years. And then, moved into the role that I'm in now, first as a operations director for supply chain, and then, vice president of operations role here. But, and our leadership team consists of the following, okay, on the supply chain side. So we have Chuck Hamill IV, okay, who manages all of supply chain. He's the vice president of our whole department, okay, basically the CEO of that department there. I will tell you, he is a great leader. Okay. I mean, you know what the saying says, right? The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And that is the honest to God's truth. Okay. With Chuck. I mean, he is one of the most generous people I've ever met. Number one, to start with. Okay. Knows everybody's single name in the organization, no matter where you walk. Okay. Through the building. Okay. Just, a very classy guy. A very intelligent person, okay, one of the most articulate people I've ever met, if not the most, okay, the way he comes across. And he is my direct boss. So he's done a great job. I think this started basically, almost, 9 years ago, the supply chain division, with basically one customer, that had a problem. We try to create, a solution for that customer, right, and add value, and it just, rolled on from there. Okay, and there's 5 of us on our leadership team here in supply chain. Okay, it's Chuck, as I mentioned, and we also have Jeff Music has just recently joined the team. You guys might have heard of his name before. He's our chief marketing officer and executive vice president for all of Pitt, Ohio. So he's kind of doing some work with us now on the sales side as well. He still has those other responsibilities as well for Pitt, Ohio. So he has he has a lot of work to do. And I'll tell you, I never met anybody as energetic as Jeff. Okay. He is just a tremendous person. He's the person that hired me. He's been a great mentor to me. A wonderful human being. Okay. Quite frankly. And very, very intelligent guy. Okay. So he manages the sales side. On the admin side for our team, we have a woman named Jennifer Schneider. She just joined our team probably about 3 years ago. I think, honestly, I got promoted into this role, and I think she started the same day as I did. Okay. I tell you, she is a sponge. Okay. She absorbs every single thing, has, really helped us get organized and create these processes inside of supply chain to, we pay our carriers. We manage some of our billing there. Right. Okay. And I'm telling you, she's just done, a phenomenal job for a person that really came from the outside, didn't have, trucking experience, has done a really tremendous job. And she's got a really good team, around her as well.
Awesome.
And then on the IT side, we have a lady named Tina Resnick. She's been with the company, I think, probably about 35 years. Okay.
Wow.
And she kind of manages our IT. Okay. And one of the things that is really super important, okay, especially from the 3PL side, what we are doing, right, is, it used to be a lot of building relationships with customers, and that's still really important, but it's also about the visibility. Okay. And also about the connection that we have from a digital standpoint with the customers. You guys might have heard terminologies like EDI and API and things of that nature. Okay. That we're able to pass information from our shippers to back into our TMS. Okay. Which is our transportation management system. Okay. Back into our system. And then it goes through all the way to the customer. And on our vendor, okay, as well, who might be delivering the freight. So as an example, we might have a truckload shipment, right? We're getting an electronic digital transmission comes into our TMS, would go then to our vendor. We would maybe even shoot it out to 2 or 3 vendors, okay? And then after that vendor accepts that tender, what happens is it comes back into our system that the carrier accepted it. We send them a bill of lading. They go and deliver the freight. They get the POD. It electronically comes back into our system. And then we send that back with an invoice to our customer. So pretty intriguing type stuff and intricate, right, as well.
It is,
yeah. That, how that all moves behind the scenes. So Tina kind of manages all that. Just, she's been here, like I said, 35 years. She was also, the person that was managing the TR network. If you guys kind of remember that, how we partnered with Averitt and some of those other carriers, right? You guys probably heard about that as well. So, from a leadership standpoint, I think, we got a great team around us and we're trying to, develop everybody else.
Right. No, that's fantastic.
Yeah. I didn't know if you had any questions around that.
Yeah. I was going to say, it sounds like there's a lot of moving parts for each individual person to grab a hold of and take.
Absolutely.
But in the industry, in the part of the industry now, when we say supply chain, this is how we use outside carriers. Is that correct? Am I correct in that assumption? We're talking about. This is not our general Pitt, Ohio LTL freight carrier stuff. This is we're using the companies. Like, I guess we use Dornan, and I'm not sure all the companies that are involved in it. I just know that we have a bunch of them that we interline with. That I guess maybe that's the old time lingo. Maybe that's how we used to refer to it years ago was interlining with other companies. And I don't know. That's the same thing. Am I correct in that assumption?
Yeah, I think you got like about 99% of that right. I appreciate you bringing that up. I'm a podcast virgin here today, so as far as an interview, so I'm probably a little nervous here. Listening to your podcast all the time. Okay, and just want to make sure I don't embarrass myself here today. Okay, but that's pretty much how it works. So from a 3PL side, okay. Again, we take the freight or the opportunity that a customer might bring to us needs a solution for, might be in a different part of the country, might be something that's not conducive, right? Pitt, Ohio doesn't deliver, as an example, in, New York City, okay, let's say,
Right.
and maybe we put something together there for a customer, whether it's, pool distribution or, a direct relationship with one of our partners that we have, right? And it's a good fit. Our team would manage that opportunity, right? Okay, so basically we're handling it, soup to nuts. Okay, our sales rep is still involved in the conversation. We have account managers and that manage that on a daily basis, and logistics management specialists that manage that every single day. Okay, making sure that the freight is getting delivered. There's no OS&D problems. As an example, you mentioned Dorn, right? So we do a lot of business with Dorn. It's a sister company. We had, purchased them probably 8 years ago, right? So some of these opportunities, right, that come in, that is not a fit for Pitt, Ohio. Let's say it's picking up in Indiana, even though Pitt, Ohio services Indiana with their own trucks. They might not necessarily deliver to Iowa direct, right? Okay, and if it goes through the Pitt, Ohio network, it's usually 2 days of service because we have to get it to their point, to their terminal. But instead, in some occasions, right, the freight is picked up, and Indiana might be a bad example, but let's say the freight was being picked up in Iowa, okay, and going to Nebraska. Okay, that's probably a better example. We would just have a direct customer relationship with the origin being in Iowa and then delivering to Nebraska. Okay, and Dorn would manage that, or would deliver that freight, but we would manage the opportunity again with the customer. And the same thing would happen if it's intra-California or Florida to Georgia. Okay, with a different type of partner. So that's kind of how we handle that on the LTL side. And the truckloads side, we only broker that, again, basically, like I said earlier. So it could be, from anywhere in the United States, going to anywhere in the United States. And we have a real talented guy on our team. He's been with the company 12 years. His dad was here, probably 30 something years as well. And his name's Todd Rupert. Okay. And so he manages our, and I'll tell you, I count on this guy so much every day. I mean, he is one of the most well-versed guys that you ever met. Okay. Very talented. Okay. And he has a strong team around him, but his team consists of, Bruce Sturgett, Vince Sparra, Adam Kopelau. So he has a pretty good team around him as well that manage the day-to-day operations of all these truckloads that fall into that arena, all the expedited, the LTL opportunities that come in, and a little bit on the sales side of the dedicated. That's what kind of they do, right? But yeah, we do a lot of truckloads, every single month. Okay. We do, several hundred every month. There was, a point last year and it was super busy. Okay. Especially going through COVID, we would do, thousands of truckloads, Okay. So yeah, they stayed, pretty busy. And then in addition to that, we have, our dedicated division, which is, you guys are probably more familiar with, right? That, some of the drivers that you guys know from Allentown are now working in our dedicated division. So yeah, and those drivers are domiciled at certain customers, right? They don't even really come to the terminal, right? They're just domiciled there and they go from point A to point B every single day. So that's the only, Pitt, Ohio drivers that we manage are the dedicated drivers. We have a total of about, I think it's just 19. We just hired somebody recently, which for different accounts throughout the, Mid-Atlantic and Northeast area. Okay. It's important. And Brian Whalen and John Guidry, as an example, down in Baltimore, he's the terminal manager in Baltimore. They've been very helpful and Brad Cabin has been very supportive of our, dedicated fleet. Okay. Where we get, drivers to fill in, when the driver calls out sick or he's on vacation, things happen, right? So we have a backup from our terminals that are nearby, our customers that could fill in those spots. So that's pretty good. And I think you guys, interviewed Hector Ross, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure because I've listened to that podcast a while back. He just came over to the asset-based drayage side. He's actually a certified trainer now. We actually just did a little customer event this Wednesday while I was in Allentown, and Hector was there. He came over and he showed the customers how the chassis work and things of that nature. And he did such a phenomenal job, with the customers. And, he's such into safety, right? Obviously, he's a volunteer fireman, and we're fortunate that for him to join a team. And there's another guy, Roger Hoffman, that's there on the asset-based trades that's doing a real good job. I don't know if you guys know him or not.
I don't know him off the top of my head, but I might know him to see him, because that's how this industry is too. And with the drivers, it's like, people, you see them, you shake your head and you wave at them or whatever, but that's, you don't know anybody's name. And somebody says, hey, maybe, it's just kind of how it is. That's the trucking industry, But the thing that I find really interesting, the thing that I find fascinating about Pitt, Ohio. Now, I've been here for 26 years. I'm in my 27th year. I'll be 27 years in August. And one of the things that I find so fascinating about this company is that they surround themselves with people. They have a real knack. I don't know. I don't see the inner workings of Pittsburgh. We don't know how things run. But just having been here all these years, they're doing something right, because the company has grown every year that I'm here. And it's been, and I'm just one guy out of all the drivers that they have that sees that. And so that that they have a knack for attracting talented people who know how to do their job, and know how to do it well. And that's one of the things I find is really good about Pitt, Ohio, is that they really do. They really seem to have an idea. They know what they want to do. They know what they want to what they want to accomplish, and then they put the people in place to do that. Right. And I think it's just, that's why it's kind of interesting to sit here and talk with you. It's really interesting for us actually to get what it's like to get an understanding of what does the supply chain do? How does this all work? How does this all, because that's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot just in this one aspect of the company. And then you have all the other different aspects, all the other different things, the LTL part of it. And it's fascinating to me. It's just a fascinating thing. So that's why we appreciate you coming on and having this conversation, because it's enlightening to all the Pitt, Ohio drivers, but all the drivers out there that listen to Hammer Lane Legends, that actually get an opportunity to hear this is what actually goes on behind the scenes that the driver never sees. Either you're dealing with the broker or you're dealing with the company you work for, as far as your terminal, where you work out of, what you're doing, your load, where you're going, whether you're a city driver or a line haul driver, that's the small aspect that we see. But then we have an opportunity to actually talk to somebody who is in the upper end of things and making what we do able for us, making it so we can actually have something to do. If that makes sense, I know it's a very shaken down way of looking at it, I'm kind of just kind of trying to sift it out as, so it's as understandable for a truck driver like myself as can be. And I think that's what you guys do is, you take all of that and you make it work for all of us, so that we there's things for us to do. There's things for the driver, that keep the industry running. And if it weren't for the upper end of things, the drivers there would be no need for drivers. And if there's, so it's kind of like a simpatico type of relationship, it's like we kind of work together to make all this work.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. Again, I have great respect for, everything you guys do. And we were talking about on the dedicated side, and it would seem like so easy, to when you think about it, you just go from point A to point B, but it's not that easy. There's a lot of issues, on the road, during the course of the night, right? During the course of the day, right? Traffic jams, as far as like on the dedicated side, you guys, I'm not sure if you guys know who Jeanette White is. So she kind of does manage the dedicated drivers. She does a great job. She has a great relationship, with the terminals, and terminal managers, right? Where we need help and support, right? And she communicates with them every day. She was out in Allentown this week for a few days, working with the drivers, working on a couple of different things. And we just recently hired a gentleman named Ryan Wellington. And he's kind of dispatching the drivers now for the port Okay. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. But between those two, there's a lot of moving parts every single day, and they're communicating very well. And again, I count on Jeanette for a lot, quite frankly. Okay. She's been, like this great utility infielder. Okay. Since I've been here, the last 3 years, the way she just clicked, she helps out in, one department. She's doing some of our warehousing billing. She's taking care of the dedicated, the asset-based drayage side. Okay. And I will tell you that drayage part, that is not easy, guys. Okay.
Oh,
I will tell you guys that. Okay. That is not an easy job. So she's done, a tremendous job. I count on her, for a lot, and she gives me a lot, quite frankly. So, I really appreciate everything she does. And as far as, just to back up a little bit, because you mentioned something, Brian, that, the drivers, like you said, they don't know, what goes on behind the scenes. And, let's face it, Brian Shipper knows everything that goes on in the organization, right? Okay.
I know. After all the time I have with him, yes, you're correct. He knows. It's like he's played every freaking instrument in the band. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Like he's giving me information sometimes, like whether it was like sales leads, whatever. And listen, people, I know Brian for 20 years. Okay, like I said, and in our previous job, people probably don't realize this. Okay, now I don't know if he's ever told you the story, but he would literally take a set of doubles, okay, drive them into North Jersey with 2 runs of LTL, okay, drop them like at a customer's yard, okay, in Patterson or Clifton or something like that, okay, and then he'd go out, make deliveries, make pickups on the two pups, and bring them back all the way to Phillipsburg, okay. So he's just an amazing guy, okay? And I was just talking about him the other day with Brian Whalen and Kyle over at the terminal, because I saw those guys. Yeah.
Oh, that guy? Are we talking about the same guy?
Brian, who? No, that's all, you know what? He is a great guy. That's why he's that's why he's that's why I wanted to do this show with him, because he knows a lot. He knows the industry.
Oh, believe me, John, we have those 48 footers with the pintle hooks on the back. I'm itching to do 1.5 turns of Harrisburg and call it 3 runs and done.
Might cut back your hours though, Brian. Be careful.
Fine by me.
But yeah, so when Brian had said that on this podcast that I was listening to from you guys, that John's doing this logistics thing and he really wasn't sure what supply chain was about, right? That's what kind of like, really was the impetus for this conversation right here today, is that a lot of people at Pitt, Ohio, particularly the drivers, probably don't know what we're doing on the back end, right? And how we're trying to grow and where the organization's going. And, I got a lot more to talk about here, but there's a lot of things that we're doing on our side that, just not everybody knows about. Okay. And I think it's important that we send that message, because truthfully, we need the drivers' help as well. We need to continue to recruit drivers to work on the drayage side. Number one, right? We need a strong team, guys that are going to, be dependable, reliable. Come to work and really work every single day, right? Okay, okay. That's the first part. That understand the business, that could communicate with customers, because again, a lot of the city drivers are talking to these customers every day. They see 8-10 customers a day, right? If not more. They see customers more than really some of the sales reps. Okay, quite frankly, right? Okay. So they're ambassadors for our organization. And, the one thing I will tell you, like from speaking to customers, they love our drivers. Okay. Yeah. Like, our drivers are the top. Okay. Like everybody loves our drivers. Right. And we kind of have, this method. Hey, don't argue about with the customer. If they want the freight to be dropped down on a lift gate, we'll worry about the billing later on. And that's some of, our approach. Okay. For our city drivers, and they do a great job. Okay. They do a fantastic job. Okay. I mean, listen, I've only worked at 3 places. Okay. Quite frankly, but we have more talent here at Pitt, Ohio than I've ever worked at. And I've said that since day one, since I got here.
Right. I totally agree. I started out as a city driver and it drove me crazy. And in 2 years, I went to line haul. Look, my hat is off to the city guys. I don't know how they do it. It just the amount of traffic that we see in the morning as a road driver, as a line haul driver, the amount of traffic you see at rush hour, it's enough to drive you crazy as it is. And these guys deal with it all day long and get the freight off. And I just look at them like, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you done it.
Right.
And you've done it for 30 years. We got guys who are, and it's just, it's crazy. So yeah, I mean, my hat's off. Go ahead,
us guys running the line haul at night, it's a race to get back by 4:30,
Right.
5 o'clock, because that's when all the crazies come out and go to work.
That's the hour. That's it. That's when it happens. That's when, the rush begins, and it's just the way it is. It's the nature of the business. But, for our city guys to work around that, especially in the areas that we cover, I mean, it's one thing in the more rural areas, it's one thing. But when you get into Baltimore and you're into Allentown and you're into North Jersey and you're into Philadelphia, you're into Columbus and all these big cities, Pittsburgh, I can't imagine. I just can't. I cannot imagine the daytime gig doing that, which is why 24 years as a line haul driver, that's the way it is. You're happy to do it. You're like, yeah, I don't know how you work at night. I don't know how you work during the day. That's always my, but it's having that team. It's having that team attitude. And I think it's one of the things that Pitt does really well is that they try to get everybody to understand that we work together. We work, the city guys work together with the line haul drivers. Line haul tries to get their, things back for the city guys in the morning. And somehow not magically, it takes a lot of effort to make it happen that we get all this freight moved overnight, every day.
Yeah, still,
it's amazing to me that Pitt, Ohio has people in place like you who are able to help us make that happen on a daily basis, and I know there's a whole group of people involved, between line haul out there, line haul control and everybody else. But there's a lot that goes on. Like you said, there's a lot of moving parts. And there's, the trucking industry, that's just, it's everything is one aspect of it. And it's like, we all kind of work in our own little world. And this is why it's such a great opportunity to talk with you, because we actually get to see inside another world.
Yeah.
Inside.
And listen, the division that I'm in is different, but I will say, okay, being on, the sales side of things at Pitt, Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. When I was there, I got nothing but respect for, what the operations team was doing there. Right. I mean, Brad Cadden runs as great an organization as anybody. I mean, his responsibilities are tremendous. Okay. And, he's got great leaders on his side with, Mike Eckert and Jason Duggar. Okay. Some of these guys that, I've retired over the years. Right. Okay. like my corporate and stuff like that. Right. But I will tell you, Brad does a fantastic job. I mean, I know the guys, in that office, like sitting behind his desk at 5 o'clock in the morning. I see his emails, we talk sometimes, right? Okay. I mean, people don't realize how much work, goes into it. It's just not, sitting behind a desk. Okay. Right. Doing some things. So I appreciate you mentioning some of that because, obviously like you guys are, doing a lot of, the grunt work and driving those trucks and staying there, keeping safe, out there. But yeah, I think, Brad and the operations team, the terminal managers, they deserve a lot of credit. Curtis Talaferro, guys like that, they do a really tremendous job.
They do. And one of the things that over the years, I'm not by any means, any stretch of the imagination, here as long as some of these other drivers are here, but having been here almost 27 years, you look at it, I've always felt this way. It's one of the things that my dad had told me, years ago. You can tell how a company is by how the leadership is, when I started, we used to meet with Chuck when you had your probation period as a driver. You met with one of the brothers, Chuck or Bob or Kenny back in the day. That's longer ago than I was here. But I actually met Chuck Hamill. I met, and it was he has that let's get this done attitude. And yet it's a personable attitude. He doesn't I took him as someone who doesn't beat around the bush. He's not, but he'll get right to the point with you and talk with you, but his door is open. And I found that with Brad Caven. I found that with anybody that I've needed to talk to throughout the years, that is how this company is. And I think that's another one of those things in this company at Pitt, Ohio, that is so important that you can talk, you can call, you can get a hold of somebody and have a conversation with them about if you're having an issue or if you did, whatever. If there's something that's on your mind, and I've had a couple of conversations with Chuck Hamill, and it was the one time he called me, and I was like, because I had sent him a letter, and I was just like, wow. It's like, yeah, these are real people, and they want to handle the situations, and they want to. So I think, and that as we're talking about Pitt, Ohio, I want people to know what Pitt, Ohio is like to work for. It's a good company, it's a good organization. And, they take care of their employees, and there is an open door policy here. And that's what makes guys like you so interesting to sit and talk to, because you have that same attitude. I'm willing to sit down and talk with a couple of truck drivers who have no idea what it is that you do, but you'll explain it to us. And we appreciate that, because that helps us to understand that, everything works together, and we're all here to do this thing called trucking, and that's what we're all doing. We're all just doing a different part.
Well, here's the thing, Brian. We all put our pants on one leg at a time. Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't think anybody feels that anybody's better than the other person, okay, or anything like that. We're together here as a team. And as far as Chuck 3, I'm glad you brought that up, and I had that on my list to talk about. Okay. I mean, he is the greatest leader I think our company could ever have, right? Okay. I mean, he works with integrity. It's always about doing the right thing. And like I said earlier, Chuck 4, okay, it's the same way. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Okay.
Yeah.
I think if Chuck 3 was running for president today, he'd get my vote. Okay, that's what I'll tell you. Okay, he would have my vote come November. Okay, that's that. I can't say it any better than that. Okay, that's just how I feel. And you're right, because probably 2 years ago when we bought our own chassis to do some of this drayage, Chuck and I were talking about a couple of things, and Chuck 3 and I talked for literally 2.5 hours one night, just trying to figure out a plan on how we would do this, right? And really, honestly, really talking a lot about family stuff, okay? And he's just a very down-to-earth guy when you talk to him, okay? And obviously, he's a great business person, right? But he's just a great human being, okay?
Yeah.
When every time I see him, it's like, he's asking me about my family, and how my health is, those type of questions, right? We're just two guys without maybe a beer even there. Sometimes there is a beer of a glass of wine involved, okay? But we're just talking like two friends, okay? That's right. How it runs.
Yeah, and that's awesome.
Yeah, I feel like that you had that kind of vibe.
Mm-hmm.
It actually makes you want to actually go the extra mile to do.
Yeah.
Better than you did yesterday.
Yeah.
Versus of just coming to work. I don't care.
Right. Yeah. Because you're more than just an employee number, and that's important. I think it's important for the drivers, for the dock workers, for the office personnel, for everybody to understand that this company is, that it is this way, and it's always been this way. And to me, it's just fascinating that they're able to make a cohesiveness out of people who come from all different backgrounds, all different, walks of life, whatever. And it makes it all work together. And it just does. And it, like I said, I don't know a whole lot about a lot of stuff. And I'm willing to say, yeah, I know how to do my part, and I'm totally content to do the thing that they hired me to do. That's my goal, is to do it the best I can. And we've met really good people. We had an opportunity 2 weeks ago to go to the truck driving championship in Harrisburg, and again, Brad Caven was very helpful with getting us to be able to do that. That's what I mean. It's like just contact him, and he send me an email, tell me what you want to do, and I'll get it. And he did within like a day or two.
Believe me, I was shocked when it all came down. Yeah, it's a go.
Said,
I'm like, what?
We were both like, now we really have to do it. In the back of your mind, when you're just I don't want to be overly self-deprecating. At the same time, it's like when you're just a couple of schlubs who do what we do. We're just truck drivers. And when I say that, I don't mean it in a demeaning way. We're truck drivers. The podcast thing, came about in a whole other way. You know, it was never planned for. And I told my wife many times, as my older son asked me, "Hey, you want to do a podcast?" No. It was like 2 or 3 years. I was like, no, I don't want to. And then, I finally said yes. And I think, that's how this thing started. But it's like, you look at yourself like, this is what I do this for a living. I drive. And the thing that I love about Pitt, Ohio is that I drive at Pitt, Ohio, which enables me. That's what I do for a living. It enables me to do the things that I want to do in my personal life. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Like we do well enough at Pitt, Ohio that we can do other things outside, and I think that's a fascinating thing about Pitt. It's no company is perfect, and they're not ever going to make every decision that you think as a driver or as an employee that every company, that's life. And you get over that and you're like, yeah, go work anywhere else and see how it is. It's the same way, the company has to survive and run.
Right. But another thing since I've been here as long as John has, basically, right. And they don't make decisions off of a knee-jerk reaction.
Right. I agree. Yes.
If it's the company's going this way, there's a reason.
Right.
Just sit back, keep your trays in the upright position and watch what's transpired.
Yes.
I think we're all about doing the right thing, and again, it comes from leadership, right? And the money follows if you do the right thing. Okay, guys. Yeah. All right. Obviously, the company needs to be profitable, right? Okay, in order for us to, 100%. Have our health care, right? Provide for our families, right? That I think that's obviously very important, right? But I will tell you, that this happened, I'll give you 2 examples. Okay. So it's about 2.5 years ago. It wasn't much longer after I came to the department, okay, on the supply chain side. And we had a customer that honestly just beat us up every single day. Okay. For no good reason. All right. And it was a big customer. We did $1.1 million with this customer.
Wow.
Okay. From the supply chain side. All right.
Sure.
And it got to the point where, they just weren't treating our people with respect. Okay. They weren't, they were demanding unreasonable requests. Okay. Quite frankly. And I talked to Chuck about it, and Chuck Ford, okay, who's my boss, right? And we said, hey, maybe they're not a fit for us, okay? And we literally had a couple of employees that were basically ready to quit or have nervous breakdowns, quite frankly. Wow. I mean, it was getting to that point, right?
Sure.
And we pretty much told the customer, thank you. We appreciate, what you guys have done for us, but, we're going to separate ways. We don't think that we're the right carrier for you. Okay. The right organization for you. And obviously we knew that they weren't the right customer for us.
Sure.
So we walked away from, a $1.1 million account. Okay. Because, how they were treating our employees. So for us, it's super important. That we keep our integrity, okay, and do the right thing, and that's first and foremost, right? And there's been times like Chuck Ford last year, okay, we realized we made a mistake in billing, we overbilled a customer by mistake. We went back; they did not come to us; we went to them, and we gave them $150,000 check, saying, "Hey, we overbilled you guys," okay. So that's kind of how we live every single day. Okay. We do a lot on the philanthropic side as well, whether it's Pitt, Ohio supply chain. We just recently, started that, from our department as well over the last couple of years. There's a few of us from my team that are on, the committee, and our board members there for the philanthropic, part of the business. Okay. I shouldn't say business, but charities. So we partnered with a company called the Educational Partnership that provides supplies and stuff for teachers, and also for the Oasis Project, okay, out in Homewood in Pittsburgh. And so we just had 2 two of our customers donate, a ton of books and toys for all these kids during Christmas and Martin Luther King Day. They had a STEAM program there. So, we feel really good about that. That's one of the things that we do. And we donate to a lot of different organizations as well. But I think that, that's how we work every single day. That's how we live our lives and feel like, it will help us in the long run, right? Okay. God's watching. Okay.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, touching base on what you were saying, we have Bill Paulus from
yeah.
Allentown. He was selling Christmas trees, for Christmas to benefit the Lehigh Valley pediatric cancer thing. And the Hamels gave a contribution, contributed to the cause. And at the end of it, he was able to give them a check for $22,000.
I think it was around in that range.
In that range, $22,000. With other, they had fundraisers, basket raffles and that.
Yeah, they sell trees.
For the Hamels to actually contribute and say, hey, here's a check for what you need to get going to do this. I mean, you don't hear that every day. You really don't.
That's
true.
So makes me feel
very generous organization. And back, to, I know we started talking a little bit about, some of the asset-based trades, right? It's, one of the things that happened during the pandemic, right, is customers came to us and looking for, solutions, right? And so we started, doing some drayage out on the West Coast and a couple other places without assets, right? Non-asset based.
Right.
We were fortunate enough, as we kind of thought that there was going to be a need, for our customers to hire a gentleman named Brandon Johnson, who's based out of the West Coast. Okay. And, he's a subject expert. He comes from the freight forwarding world. And, so he got hired, like November of 2021. Okay. And, when I hired him, I mean, it took off from day one, quite frankly. I mean, the guy was, he had just so much expertise in this arena that, none of us really knew. We come from an LTL type world, right? Truckload world. Okay. But we didn't know anything about drayage. And he just completely catapulted this thing to a completely different level. Okay. So, I mean, it's just amazing what we've accomplished. Okay. Handled thousands and thousands of containers throughout the country. Okay. Just not out of the port of New York and New Jersey where we have our assets. But one thing led to another, a few months later where we thought, okay, things are, moving, in the right direction. Okay.
Right.
That's when we started buying some chassis. Honestly, it took a little while. Okay. And I don't know if you guys ever saw our chassis that we purchased. They're the extending ones, right? So they could become a 40 or a 20 with the hydraulics. Okay. And again, so that started there really kind of with Brandon. He has a really good team around him too. There was a woman named Sarah Stone that was Todd's team, and she actually worked for me on my team for a little bit of time before I had gotten promoted and before we promoted really Todd. And so she ended up getting promoted to the intermodal supervisor. Okay. She has a couple of people on her team, and we're actually hiring somebody else now. But we hired these two young people that one graduated from the University of Pittsburgh, Virginia, Bengal, and a gentleman named Julian Rao that graduated from Duquesne, and they've been there now for about a little over 2 years. Okay. And they really learned the business, doing a great job. We're trying to hire somebody else for that department as well. And what they kind of do is they kind of manage all the drayage that is not non-asset. Okay. So anything that we kind of outsource, which is a lot. So it could be the Port of Los Angeles. It could be Miami. It could be Savannah. Okay. So we're picking up drayage, containers all throughout the country. Okay. So it's made the job really exciting and fun because every day we're kind of, changing and doing new things. And then, recently Brandon was able to fill out these applications, and we are a global organization. We actually formed another company called Pitt Ohio International. So we do freight forwarding. So we own the container from start to finish. So basically, we've been picking up containers in Taiwan, China, England, Germany, okay, Australia, you guys name it, we're picking up, right? And that's probably something nobody knows about, right? Or not nobody, but a lot of people don't know about, right? In our organization, like, these are some of the things that we're doing.
That is amazing. That's really cool to know. That's really cool to hear. I mean, that's like,
all I can say
newsroom stuff, Yeah.
And all I can say
really interesting.
Don't ask me for the traffic report in Taiwan. I'm out. I got to tap out on that.
They don't have Waze there.
Somebody else got Waze. People have my number. Call me.
Yeah. Shipper's the information bureau here.
Yeah. So it's really amazing, like this transformation. Okay, that on where we started and where we're going, right? Okay, because we feel like this is going to be a big part of our organization in the future, right? Everybody talks about this, global economy, right? Okay, and these are some of the things that we're doing. I mean, we've delivered containers to Saudi Arabia and like different places. Okay, like you would never, like most people do not know that inside the organization, right?
Nope, you're right about that.
Okay. Yeah. We just ordered like this huge map. It's on the second floor at the corporate office, right, where our supply chain team, is domiciled, right? And there's this big map, and we keep putting these pins every time we deliver or pick up at a different, country. So it's really cool. If you guys ever get out to the corporate office and you got time to stop by and see, our office, I welcome you guys to come on in. Okay.
That would be really
cool. Not for nothing, John. If we get called to the corporate office, it's usually not a good step. We did something bad.
Really bad. Some terminal manager bad.
Well, let this be a good invite then, okay? You guys are more than welcome to come out there. Yeah, so, those are one of the things we're doing. And from a freight forwarding side, we're trying to meet our goal. We're doing pretty good on that this year. The sales team has been very active in bringing us opportunities. We're trying to hire, somebody else under Brandon, to help out with some of the quotes, because honestly, we're kind of falling behind. He's the only one that's really quoting the freight forwarding business. And in addition to that, with freight forwarding, it's just not ocean and containers. It's also air freight. So we're also doing air freight. Okay. We got certified by the TSA. Okay. They've come to our facility to inspect, our office, make sure we have our documents in order. Right. So again, nobody, I'm sorry, I keep saying nobody, but most people here at Pitt, Ohio do not know that we're handling air freight. Okay.
Well, that's it. I mean, and rightly so. I mean, you're saying, nobody, and literally, nobody from like where your office sets down. We, unless we just don't know. We had no clue. I know Shipper right now. He's just kind of chomping at the bit. He's going, I want when they buy the first Pitt, Ohio airplane, when they fly that first ship, he wants to pilot.
I'm just thinking now the trailers are going to be loaded like a freight train and flown like a plane.
There you go. No, it's really cool. It's very exciting to actually hear that kind of stuff.
We're getting more horsepower on our tractors now.
It just is, to me, that's one of those things that's just really interesting to know. And I appreciate that. I really do. I appreciate that's what I mean is Pitt, Ohio has this way of, and it's from the leadership of doing this stuff that keeps all of us working. I mean, they're about growing the company and like you said, doing what's right. It's a whole fascinating aspect that I had no clue about. And, it's so neat to hear. So I appreciate that.
And that's what I'm sorry. Go ahead, bro.
I was just going to say, that's what I joke about. I said, literally since I got out of the tow truck, I've been driving for a Hamill. Yeah. I was on the beat team. Then I gradually moved up. And John and I moved up.
There you go.
But like I said earlier, Brian knows so much about the organization. Yet when he was, talking on the podcast, and he said, "Yeah, John's doing some logistics stuff."
Right.
That's it. Kind of like lit a light bulb up for me, right?
Right.
Just like, okay, wait a minute. How many drivers don't know what we're doing? Okay, how many drivers that's helped us over the years? Okay, how can they help us? Moving forward, right? Okay,
Yeah.
and a lot of people listen to your podcast. You guys should be very proud of what you guys created. You guys have done a great job, and it's important that we have this format to be able to communicate, right? And hopefully, like I mentioned earlier, our drivers see our customers all the time, and they're ambassadors to our organization, right? Okay, and it's important that some of these messages get out there because they know guys on the dock that maybe other carriers or other companies are struggling with picking up their freight, and maybe the customer needs some help internationally with some different shipments, and we're here to help, and here to create a solution for our customers, and just to continue to add value.
Exactly. And that's it. As each of these things opens up and as everybody, becomes more aware, it makes you feel like you're part of something much larger than yourself. And it's always a good thing. It's good for us to feel like there's something more than just my little world going on. There's something bigger for me to aspire to, look to, and help, because we're all, like I said, we're all doing our part, and it's good to know what some of those other moving parts are that we don't ever get to see.
Right.
We're actually kind of getting a look inside the grandfather clock and how this thing all works together and what makes the thing chime.
Right.
That's because that's really what it boils down to. You can look at the case on the outside and it looks great, but you don't know how it works. So it's cool to learn how it works a little bit. So we really appreciate your time.
Yeah, I'm listen.
Well,
I'm happy to be here.
If I may, I was curious myself. How did you get involved in the trucking industry? Is this you've been in the trucking industry for a long time, or is this how did that happen for you? Kind of like a little bit of your personal story.
Yeah, from a personal side, I started at a company called GOD. Okay,
Yeah, I remember
worked there for 17 years. Okay, in all aspects of the business. Okay, moved in, then over to PJAX for 10 years as well. So I was there with Brian, and that's truthfully how I really got to Pitt, Ohio. Okay, listen, I've enjoyed working at every company. Pitt, Ohio has been the best for me. Okay. I just recently mentioned this, I got to make sure that I'm here at least a little over 17 years. So when if I ever make the Hall of Fame, I'm going in with a Pitt, Ohio jersey. Okay. But I've done a lot of different things. And most of my background was in operations at PJAX. It's an interesting story because we were thinking about possibly even opening up another terminal. And I don't think they really had a role for me there. Maybe I was going to be a terminal manager. Maybe not. We ended up opening South Plainfield at one point. But it's just that I had a lot of connections in the business. And,
Sure.
So I worked really there in sales. Okay. They liked what I was doing there, and they just kept me kind of in that role. And it kind of led my way here to Pitt, Ohio. One of my friends that's still here at Pitt, Ohio, he had come over first, and what happened is Jeff Music had asked him, hey, if there was one person he would bring over, to Pitt, Ohio, who would it be? And I was fortunate enough that Jeff Jersey, mentioned my name. And
awesome.
I had breakfast with Jeff Music at 7:00 in the morning in some diner in Edison, New Jersey, and we ordered the same exact breakfast. Okay, and truthfully, it's been great ever since. He hired me, and he got approval from Chuck 3 to hire me, relatively quick, and I've really enjoyed what I've done, and I did sales for a long period of time, between, being at PJAX and at Pitt, Ohio.
Right.
But always, operations was still in my heart. Okay. Quite frankly. And I still enjoy talking to customers. I don't want you to think that I don't like sales, but It's a combination for me. And what's
Right.
great for me, truthfully, it changes every day. Okay. That's one of the things, just some of the things that I mentioned here today. And I have more, okay, quite frankly, that
Yeah.
we're doing from a supply chain side. But, it's fresh for me. Okay. It changes every day. There's a new challenge every day. I like overcoming those challenges. But I really think that, part of I like to consider myself somewhat successful. Okay. Really, for me, what's really made a big difference in my life is that, first of all, I've been with the same woman for, 40 years, okay, since teenagers,
That's
okay. So, she's very supportive of me. She's very patient of me, okay. And I could, that's hard to do, okay. I will tell you guys, okay, if you really know me. I got a great family support around me. And I always say these two things, okay. When you wake up in the morning, you need to trust two people. You need to trust the person that you wake up next to, okay? And you need to trust the person that you work for, okay? And if you have those two, okay, that fills your heart with joy. And by doing that, you're going to do a better job. You're going to live life with a positive attitude, okay? You're not going to let anything get in your way. That's not to say you're not going to have challenges every day, right? Okay? Those obstacles are there for everybody, okay? You got to overcome them. Make lemonade out of lemons, right? Okay. And if you go out there and you provide that positive energy, right? Okay. Then good things will happen. And one of the really important things that I take great pride in, okay, my whole career, okay, no matter which company that I've been at, and I especially enjoy that here today because I have a lot of young people on my team, okay, is that developing the youth, being a good role model is extremely important. Okay. That is probably the most important thing that I do every single day. Okay. Is carry myself, okay, with the right way. Okay. Doing the right thing. Okay. Don't worry about making an extra 5 cents and then doing the wrong thing, right? Because that comes back and bites you in the butt, right? Okay. But just going out there and providing, that leadership that people need, right? And hopefully I do that. Okay. Have I made mistakes? Of course, plenty of them. Okay. And I'll continue to make them. And I apologize to anybody that I've hurt, okay, in the past, but that was never my intent. But I'm fortunate, to have like a great team around me. Okay. And again, a lot of people coming up in the business and learning it. And you know what? They do a lot of the great work. And you hear, all these things all the time about young people. They don't like to work as much and this and that. I don't believe that. I actually think that the young people coming up today are so much smarter than my generation, quite frankly. Okay. They know what they want. They know what they don't want, right? They're pretty smart. I don't seem to have that experience, whether it's my family, my nieces and nephews, who I love dearly. Okay. And I spend a lot of time with them. Okay. I'm so proud of them. Or the people that work for me, okay? Because I do feel like people want to do the right thing, and I really admire that, okay? And that's what kind of I feel like is going on in our department. I think that's kind of been our secret sauce, has been the people that we have hired, okay, and how they continue to improve, okay, every single day. In many ways, and I talked about our philanthropic, committee. I mean, there's 5 or 6 people from my team, on the board at like 7 people, right? That's just the type of people we have. So when we interview people, when we try to hire people, we're looking for people that have integrity, okay? And you don't know all the time what you're going to get, okay? Quite frankly, all right.
Sure.
But you try to wean that out the best you can to make sure that this is the type of person that has, the same values and that you do, that will share our same mission. Okay. These type of things. So, again, developing our employees, to me, is our number one goal. Right. And that's why this company has technically been around. I mean, I know Pitt, Ohio Lane started in 1979, but Hamel Holdings has been around for 100 years.
Right. Right. It's been around for a long, long time. Yes.
You know,
And
started with a horse and buggy, right, in 1918.
exactly.
You know, on the strip district. Okay.
yeah, it's it's fascinating. It just is. The whole thing is fascinating, and my prayer is that they're around for a lot longer. Not just for me to retire, but for all the guys coming up and all the young ladies, all those who are coming into the driving industry, whether they're in the office or whether they're on the street. That's you just see that is the desire of this company is to be in business. This family, and they know what they're doing. And they put people like you in a position. And most of this conversation when we're talking to you is you're talking about the people around you, which is great because that's you're not afraid. You don't feel like you have to prove yourself to anybody. And I mean that in a great way because you're talking about the team around you, and that's that's the important thing for you and that's how it should be because those are the people that are helping you do your job. Just like all of us, we all have those people in our lives that help us to do what it is that we're doing. Like you, my wife has been with me for 36 years in a couple of weeks. It'll be 36, and you raise your kids and you do your thing, and she's still here and she still tolerates me. It's beyond me why, but it's a fantastic thing to have that support system around you. And what I really appreciate is that you're lifting up your support team and you're saying these are the people who help me to do what we do. And I think that's great because that seems to be something that this company does. It just is. You watch them promote from within the company. You see young guys who you saw on the dock now doing stuff in the office and doing and becoming different. Their roles become different, and I think that's so important in this industry. It's so good to see people who have a grasp of what it is that we do, moving into leadership. Into leadership roles in the company. I just think it's cool. I just wanted to say thank you for doing that and lifting up your team. And saying these are the people who are working with me, and we're making this. It's not just all about me; it's about the team, And that's what I mean is like this is a team oriented company, and it's great. I think it's great.
I appreciate you saying that and recognizing that. I don't think about it from that sense, like in some ways that you just mentioned. I try to make it instinctive for myself. Okay,
Yeah.
but quite frankly, okay, it's about our team. I've been fortunate, to be able to hire some, the right people, inherit some of the right people, promote some of the right people. As an example, look, I mentioned, Todd has been promoted here, a couple of different times. We promoted another gentleman. I don't even know if I mentioned his name earlier, named John Hiles. Okay, as well, that works on Todd's team as well. He's one of the architects, and we have different type of titles here, in the supply chain division. Excuse me. But yeah, I think John's been a great hire. He got promoted. He knows the customers love him. He kind of manages and a lot of the LTL every single day. I mentioned that Sarah had gotten promoted as well as the intermodal supervisor. We, from the warehousing side, we had promoted from the account management side. We promoted Jillian Kennedy, who also has been here, I think, 12 or 13 years now. Okay, and she does the warehousing. I didn't get a chance to talk about that. Just give me 1 second here.
Yep.
Yeah, but Jillian, she got promoted. She was BDR account manager, and then she came over to the supply chain side, for the warehousing. So she's our architect on the warehousing side. We have a director of warehousing who's also actually based out of California. Okay, he got hired probably about, it's going to be 2 years, I think, in September. He reports up to me as well. And then Jillian reports to him. But Jillian is a budding superstar. I will tell you that. Okay. She knows the business. I am, without sounding condescending, I mean, I'm so proud of her. Okay. She's accomplished a lot here, from the warehousing side. She's going to be a great leader here in this organization. Okay. I will tell you that. She's fantastic. We also just recently hired, somebody. We actually started like a management trainee program where they work in like different departments for 6-8 months. We don't like to put like a time frame on it, but usually that's the time frame. It could be 6 months to a year. It's really after they graduate that course. So they might start in customer service as an example, and then maybe be an account manager, or maybe then be, this person just happened to come into warehousing. So we have this gentleman named Navance Mingo. He's actually from New Jersey. He's living out in Pittsburgh because he went to RMU, and we have a supply chain certificate program at RMU where we do like interns with different colleges throughout the Pittsburgh region, where we bring them in and let these people work as interns during the summer. So, but he actually graduated from RMU with a supply chain degree. And we put him in this trainee management program. Pitt, Ohio also provides a supply chain certificate that Pitt, Ohio pays for. Okay, if an employee is interested, we pick a couple of employees every year, that are interested in this program. Chuck came up with that, and it's a great program, and it's going to pay dividend in the future. He could probably explain it a lot better than I can. Okay, but it's worked well. But anyway, Navance now is working with the warehouse team because Jillian is having a baby, so she's going to be out for a couple of months. Okay, but yeah, he's doing a great job. He's learned a lot, so far. So he's doing a good job there. But from a warehousing side, I mean, during COVID, customers came to us. You probably heard about, how, first of all, you were seeing containers sitting on streets, right? Okay. People were just dropping them, right? Nobody had room in warehouses. Okay. So we had customers come to us and say, hey, can you, help us with warehousing product? And we kind of started a warehousing division here on the supply chain side. So we have asset-based and non-asset-based. And, during COVID, we had 27,000 skids in storage, just to give you an example. Wow. Okay. That's a lot of truckloads. Okay. A lot of skids. Okay. So we managed that with a couple of people, which is not easy, moving all that product in and out of those warehouses, but we created great relationships or better relationships with some of our customers by being able to provide them, these solutions and help them in their time of need, because they were busting at the seams, and they just didn't have room for product in their warehouse. They were damaging more product because they couldn't, move on in their own place. They just didn't have room to store it. So yeah, that's, and part of the challenge, I think, for the customers is they still have a lot of, products sitting in warehouses out there, but it's product that consumers don't need anymore. Like, let's say sanitizer. How many people are using, Purell and sanitizer these days? I mean, every once in a while you still use it, but for the most part, it's not like you were using it every 5 minutes during COVID, right? So a lot of this product is still sitting out there. Medical gowns, are sitting out there, right? But and what's funny about that? You would never think this, but medical gowns have an expiration date on them.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah, you're right. I would not have thought
that. Yeah. So these types of products are still sitting out there that, customers are paying for storage, not only with us, but with other people. They're gradually moving that product out. But yeah, that is still, going on. So, we have this warehouse team and this warehouse services that we provide customers throughout the country. Whether it's in, one of our buildings in Harrisburg or Cleveland or Indianapolis, to, places that we have, strategic relationships and vendors, California, Florida, Georgia, you name it, we're storing product. We do this every day for customers, and it's been a great, opportunity for our sales reps to dig in deeper and sell deeper into our customers.
Wow. Now, one question I was kind of curious about, I would imagine it has affected, year end of the business. Did the Francis Scott Key Bridge affect the ports at all anywhere other than the Baltimore one? I mean, because that's just a recent thing that has happened. And I was curious how that affects you guys at all, if it does.
Great question. Great question. So yes, it does. It does affect us. Now, we didn't pick up a lot out of Baltimore. Baltimore is more of a carport, okay, than anything. It's the largest carport port in the United States. Okay, so a lot of cars come into that facility. I actually was just at the port with a lot of customers and a lot of people from our team in Port Newark on Wednesday. Okay. We were just there. We met with some of the terminals there, the port terminals and Port Authority, just to, kind of have a review of what's happening and, kind of learn more about what they're doing on their side. So at the beginning, it did affect, those ports because some of those ships had to go to, the port of New Jersey. There's obviously 4 different terminals there. Okay. And it's not easy getting in and out of those terminals. I will tell you that. Okay. It's gotten better as of recently because it's not as busy overall with the economy. But yeah, the port flow did back up a little bit while I was there. But what they did is they extended their hours to be open on Saturday and to 6 o'clock at night. So that helped a little bit. Okay. A lot of the product actually went to, or the ships went into Norfolk. Okay. So that was that port there, is probably struggling a little bit more than, Port New Jersey and New York because, they don't have as big of a port there. Okay.
Right.
Costs have gone up out of that location as well. So now customers are paying a lot more. Okay. And it's all demand and supply. Okay. At that point. Right. So, if you don't have as much trucks, as many trucks in the area, then, your costs are going to go up. So that affected customers more than us. We definitely outsource there, at this point. But one of the things that we recently did, I don't know if you guys know this or not. So we had purchased 7 terminals altogether at Pitt, Ohio from the YRC group. That was pretty much public information out there. 3 of those terminals have come to the supply chain division. Okay. And including Norfolk. So I was just recently in Norfolk, and the Charleston. So we have now a terminal in Norfolk, Charleston, and Wilmington, North Carolina. We're still in the infancy stage of this. And so I'm trying to understand, how we're going to use, these terminals. So, there's no freight moving in and out of them. We're going to have to clean up these terminals a little bit. Think about YRC went out of business, and we're going to make it, Pitt, Ohio standard. You guys see what's going on in Allentown and how that building's looking, right? Okay. Obviously, what our Pittsburgh building looks like, and maybe even Cleveland, right? Okay. We're going to make these buildings, state of the art facilities and do it the way Pitt, Ohio always does when they upgrade buildings. Okay. So yeah, we're not there yet at this point. But, because of our freight forwarding division and our drayage division, those terminals will be maritime terminals and they will be staying in supply chain, and we'll utilize those terminals. And it brings opportunity, if drivers ever decide to move and we open up these terminals and, we'll, obviously, again, we always, publish that internally first, so drivers have an opportunity to, move if they want, and go to any of these terminals.
Yeah, but that's awesome.
Yeah, but they are maritime terminals. Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, that's neat. That is really cool to see,
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, go right ahead. I was just going to say something snarky. I was going to say, when is the Hawaii terminal opening up? Because that's where I want to transfer to.
Yeah, that's funny you say that. Yeah. I made a joke about that with one of my guys here probably a few weeks ago. We were trying to do something for Hawaii and Alaska, okay? And I said, why don't you go to Alaska and I'll go to Hawaii, okay?
I heard that. Yes, if they ever open up those 2, Shipper can go to Alaska. I'll take Hawaii myself.
Yeah,
we'll do the podcast, remotely.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, get some palm trees in the background.
Yes, sir.
And the gentleman I was talking to about that, he actually, so he is also part of our supply chain team, part of the operations team. His name is Bud Stump, and Sue Milberger works for him as well. Very knowledgeable people. Sue's been here probably close to 30 years. And Bud's only been here probably 4 years. He comes from the retail side. He actually worked at one of a shipper that we actually do business with, and it just happened that he ended up here. This was even before I came over, but he manages our compliance, so he keeps all our partner carriers in line, making sure they have the right insurance requirements. They again, it's important that they share the same mission and values that we have, okay, but they are aligned. So, he works closely with our safety department as well to make sure that everything is aligned in the same manner that Pitt, Ohio trucks would be. We want to make sure that, our partners for our customers have good equipment, okay, have the insurance requirements, their safer scores are good. So he's constantly checking, the CSA and checking all of that to make sure that, we're intact. And he does a really good job on that. We moved him into this compliance role probably about 2 years ago, and he's thrived in that department, and he's done a really good job there.
Very cool. Very cool.
That's another issue you would have never thought about.
What's that?
The compliance.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
Just saying.
But we need to be in compliance. So yeah, it's one of those things that again we don't think about on our aspect of things where we're at.
Yeah. You just think I gotta make it up to Sutton.
Yeah, I got to get to Sutton or West Springfield. One of the two,
Yeah, I mean, our goal is basically, listen, let's provide a great customer experience. Okay.
Yeah.
If we feel like if we take care of our customers, okay, again, the money will follow, right? Okay. Yeah. So we try to do everything that's going to be beneficial for the customer. Sometimes, listen, we're going to have, a difference of opinion. Okay. Okay. But that's okay. We could walk away, with, a respectable, decision that way. Right. Okay. And we try to, again, just do whatever we can for the customer. We put the customer and our employees first. Okay. At Pitt, Ohio, and truthfully, really, the employees come first even before our customers, like I mentioned, earlier. But yeah, I think, we're working on a lot. We've done a lot, but there's still a lot to do. Okay. Sure. We're excited about this international piece of the business, right? Okay. Yeah. We're just really getting that off the ground, really started moving freight probably around December, going into January. And it's working out, so far pretty well. And I think, 3-5 years from now, we might be looking back at this conversation and saying, wow, look at the size of Pitt, Ohio International, which falls under, supply chain, right? It'll be amazing. So I'll be curious to see how it all unfolds.
Yeah, it really will be. It really will be. Well, John, this has been an awesome conversation, and I know you probably have a million more things you'd like to talk about. If we could schedule you again to sit down and chit chat again, at some point in the future, we'd love to do that. If you'd be, if you're available for it, or we'd love to do that.
Yeah, I'm open to it. I hope like I said, I didn't embarrass myself too much here today.
No.
Okay. Obviously there's things that I can't talk about here that, we're working on, right? And some certain specifics, right? Okay. I do have more that I could talk about. Okay. Yeah. But I think, we went over a lot, and I'd be more than happy to, come on again, and maybe even some of my team members, that so you guys can meet them who really might be the future of, Pitt, Ohio supply chain, right? I think that would be great. Okay. And I appreciate everything, you guys do out there on the road. Okay. Got nothing but respect for you guys. You're doing an awesome job. Okay. I always tell my family, listen, if you see a Pitt, Ohio driver on the road, okay, just make sure you follow him. I promise you'll get there safely. Okay. Yeah. And so, I have nothing but admiration for what you guys do. And I really like to thank you guys for letting me come on the show here today, sharing some of the things that we're doing at the Pitt, Ohio supply chain side, right? And getting our message out, and hopefully I answered your questions. I don't know if you have any other questions for me, but really appreciate the time here today.
We had a great time. It was a great interview.
Very informative.
It was, and that's the point. That's what we really wanted to do was to help us all understand. We do our part, and there's people, in Pittsburgh who are doing other parts. Who are making this thing all work. And that's the goal. Ultimately, and you said it. Ultimately, really, when you boil it all down, we're a service industry, and we service our customers. And if we don't service our customers, we don't have customers. So
absolutely,
we have to do what we do,
right.
And sometimes
do it well.
And do it well. And I think Pitt does. I do. Maybe that's a little bit of prideful bravado. I don't know. I just think Pitt, Ohio does a great job at all of it. I do. And they're always expanding and trying something new. And that's what's really cool. It's always fresh. And like I said, in the 27 years I'm here, they've grown every year. It's never gone backwards, even in really tough times. It's always seemed to be, the Hamels. My hat is off to the Hamels all the time, and the people that they surround themselves with, like yourself, and the people that you surround yourself with like your team. That's just how it works, and it works well. It works well. So we just thank you so much for coming on. We enjoyed this conversation. It really was very, I'm going to use a big word, efficacious.
Okay. It's a good word. Okay. Yeah. Our customer experience is what, how we treat our customers. Our customers pay our bills, right? Okay. What what contributes to employee perseverance. Okay. All right. It's that's how that really ends up working. Okay. It's just one big circle.
Yep. Well, with all that being said, Chipper,
just tell them to hang on there, and with all that being said, keep the hammer down the hammer lane.
I
hope this was real informative. Thank you.
All right.